Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of the Sports Frenzy podcast. Phil Penarski here alongside our News 8 sports correspondents, Dean Holzwarth and Andy McDonald once again. Guys, thank you so much for being here. We're so excited because we've got a lot to talk about. You know, we typically stick to a couple of teams. We've got a lot of different sports, a lot of different things to cover today. All across it, it's going to be a little bit more of a fast-paced show, so hopefully everybody's ready for it. We're, of course, want to begin talking some hockey. Let's talk about the Red Wings to kick things off. You know, we spent some time last week talking about the Griffins and their hot start and really continued success. The Red Wings also having a good start to the season, something that, you know, we had a lot of questions about in the offseason. Would this team be ready to, again, take that next step, compete for the playoffs, break that postseason drought? And so far this season, I mean, things are looking up for Detroit and possibly leading to that playoff drought being ended.
Yeah, no. You want it?
Yeah, definitely. No, I mean, with the Wings, obviously, you know, they are second in the Atlantic, right, or second in the Eastern Conference right now, behind Tampa Bay. I think the Carolina win was huge a couple nights ago. Obviously, a tough loss last night against Boston. But no, like, they're stacking up wins. I think they had won 8 of 10 at one point.
Right.
So yeah, playing really, really well. You know, we always talk about consistency with the Red Wings, and, you know, with the bottom not dropping out, you know, with a long losing streak. So, no, as long as they can kind of keep this momentum going and stay atop the standings, I think they'll be good.
Yeah, it's really just a question of what will happen when March comes around again. They have, as far as like being out of the playoffs right now, they do have 10 points in the first team out of the playoffs, but that team has 4 games in hand. So that's like, they have played a lot more games than a lot of other teams, so it's still a little bit closer than it looks, but they definitely have a good grasp on like at least getting a wild card spot at this point. But it's still so hard to believe this team is just going to, you know, carry this through March and get there. Yeah. I do believe that this version of this team is a lot better than the team 2 years ago that blew the bigger lead that they had going to March. I think that this is a much more refined version. It's a lot of the same players, but they've seemed to have grown up a little bit more and become better NHL players. That's what we're going to find out. I mean, are these guys really that good to take care of the load? I mean, we talked about that Carolina game. Yes, that was great that they got the win, but it was 3-0 in that third period. And don't get me wrong, Carolina is a great team, and they'll all skate you most nights more than any other team in the NHL. They skated circles around him and put up 3 to tie that game and send it to overtime, and the Wings definitely got away with one in overtime to win that game. So there was a clear cross-check in front of the net. I'm sure people have seen that. But, it's one of those things where it's like, and then they come out against Boston. They have a lot of these back-to-backs to end the year, and they have a much tougher schedule than they had in the first half. I think we're going to find out if these guys have really grown up to be these NHL players in this team. Like Simon Evanson is one of the guys that I'm talking about who's kind of been up that they expect to get a lot out of. Andrew Kopp, who's had, I think, 19 points now in his last 21 games. Is he actually this good, or is he just hot again? Like, it's those kind of players that have been like, you know, the people that have stuck around this organization and kind of, you know, Steve has kind of stuck with them to be people to lead them in the better direction. Are they actually that good, or aren't they? I guess we're going to find out.
Yeah, right. Well, I guess that's kind of my next question for you guys, is that obviously it's been quite a few seasons since the Red Wings were last in the playoffs, and I think a lot of people are maybe still trying to get on board with this team and maybe not trying to have their hearts broken if something were to maybe fall out with this team. But I guess, you know, kind of answer it for yourselves. I mean, what is sort of the ceiling and floor of this team right now? I mean, are we looking at the floor kind of, you know, being a middling team again, or are we thinking maybe competing for that wild card spot is at the very least what they're capable of at the worst?
Yeah, I think with the start that they've given themselves, it would be almost impossible to not have that be the floor at this point. Yeah. I mean, they'd have to really tank for a couple of months, and I don't see that happening. I think they are going to win enough games to at least keep themselves in the playoff race the rest of the year. The ceiling, I mean, this team's at times, this is what they've done in the past at this time of the year. They do look like they could be one of the better teams in the NHL with that top 6. They play so well together. A couple of years ago, and they did fall out. Andrew Kopp did get hurt, and that seemed to be a big deal. Well, right now he's playing well, and it's helped their top line when he's on it, or their second line when he's on it. It doesn't really matter who he's been playing with at center. It seems to help them a lot. So, yeah, I believe this team has a chance to go to the playoffs and actually win a series or two. And at the beginning of the year, I said I predicted that they still probably wouldn't make the playoffs. I'm gonna say with the start that they've had right now, my heart's gonna get broken again. But I think that they are finally good enough to make the playoffs. I do think that they are going to make the playoffs this year. If they don't, things have got to change. Like, I mean, like, not even just talking about Steve Yzerman. It would be like there has to be a lot of things that change this organization, the players that are on the team, because when are you ever going to do it with Dylan Larkin if you don't do it right now? It feels like at some point they just have to get this team there. Otherwise, they have to make some significant changes or adds. That's for sure.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think if they can avoid injuries, which is a big thing, like you just talked about, I think they will make the playoffs. Just the young talent on this team, and not that they don't know any better, but like I think they're hungry to help bring a playoff berth to Detroit after so many long years of fertility. So, I think they can make the playoffs. And as we've seen in the NHL playoffs through the years, I think anything can happen, right? You've seen top seeds lose to bottom seeds. I mean, anything can happen when those playoffs roll around. So I think the Red Wings have as good a chance right now as anybody to kind of make some noise in the playoffs when they do make it, because I believe they will too.
Patrick Kane did say it the other night when he had his 500th goal. He said, like, again, there are great players in this locker room, and he's been in a lot of good teams, and he believes that this team can actually do something. I do believe that, because he signed here for a third straight year, and I obviously wanted to play with Alex DeBrincat, who is also playing as one of the best wings right now in the country, not like Red Wings, like as a wing. And I think that he should have made the USA roster, to be honest with you. I really don't know how he did it with the stats he's put up so far throughout this season. So if they're top six, he's playing this well, and Dean, you said it, if they don't get hurt, it really, it's so hard to believe that they would fall and not make it with the start that they've had right now. It just feels like a lot of these guys in this team want to prove that they can do something together, because a lot of them are under team control, whatever else, but they're sick of having the reputation when the rest of the teams in the city have done what they've done around them, and they've had to see it on social media and everything else. So I'm sure there's a lot of motivation there to at least get to the playoffs. That's for sure.
Well, as things stand right now, the Red Wings are currently second in the Atlantic Division right now. They're only 1 point behind the Tampa Bay Lightning and only 1 point up on the Montreal Canadiens. I mean, those three are really kind of separating themselves a little bit. I mean, they're still competitive races all the way down, but those three are neck and neck right now as top of the division. Any of those teams, or maybe another team in the division right now that is maybe giving you a little bit of cause for concern with the Red Wings?
I mean, can you guess how many games that Tampa Bay has won in a row?
It
11.
was like 9 or 11 or 10.
Yes.
I saw the
Wow,
other
so
night.
hottest team in the NHL right now. I saw that today. So that's why I threw that out at you guys. But 11 games in a row. And there was a stretch with all the teams in the Atlantic had won like 7 of 8, 8 of 9. Like all of those teams have been playing really, really well for a good 2-week stretch. So like the Wings were playing well too, so they couldn't really extend and make a gap between those other teams because all those teams were playing well.
Right.
No, for sure. And that Red Wings have the second hardest schedule, according to the NHL.com, the rest of the year. Yeah. So that's not going to make it any easier on them.
No.
And then you mentioned the Lightning. They've only played 45 games. Red Wings have played 48. So I would probably take the Lightning to get that number 1 seed right now, unless they have been a streaky team. They didn't start the year good at all. And then who knows what they really are. Maybe they'll fall back a little bit. The Red Wings decide to keep winning, who knows. But Montreal also is only a point back, and they've played 47 games, so they have a game in hand too. So I don't know, it's gonna be tough for the Wings I think they could get in that top 3 spots, whether it's 2 or 3. I feel like one's gonna be really tough with all these teams that have games in hands against them, but those teams also have to go out there and win games too. It's not like it's that easy for them to do, but that'd be pretty crazy if Montreal and Detroit ended up with a series against each other in the playoffs, because I think Montreal was a team that, kind of rebuilt after the Red Wings were already in their rebuild, and they rebuilt faster than them to make it the last couple of years over them in that last couple wild card spots. That'd be a pretty awesome playoff matchup if it happens. So
yeah, definitely. All right, well, let's switch gears up now and head on and talk about some basketball now. Let's start with the Detroit Pistons, who are on a bit of a break. It's been really weird for them. They've only played 2 games in the last 9 days, which is kind of unheard of in today's NBA. I feel like all we talk about is how fast the turnaround is between these games, but the Pistons kind of getting a break right now. They're still atop of the Eastern Conference through 38 games. They're 28-10. This is a question that I asked AJ Evans on NB8 earlier, and that was about the Detroit Pistons. They're the top team in the East, but I feel like they're still not getting kind of the respect that maybe a top team in the East might be getting. I think we hear, and obviously OKC is a completely different animal as far as what they're capable of. They are the reigning champs, but I see Detroit, maybe, at least me personally, I see them more closer to OKC than maybe a team like the Spurs or like the Knicks, competing for that top seed. I don't know how you guys kind of feel, if maybe Detroit's getting a little disrespected, or maybe if they're kind of, they should be flying under the radar right now a bit.
Yeah, I would say that they definitely feel like they're getting a little bit disrespected, because I would definitely make the argument they're closer to that top half. I don't really know if anybody's as good as OKC, but I would say that they're closer to that than being the bottom, because nobody else in the NBA plays like they play. I mean, it's just like their style is so much different, and the defensive effort they put in. I mean, JB Bickerstaff just kind of talked about it the other day, how he can go to the bench and grab any of these guys and put him in the game to give him a spark, and it almost works every time because he kind of has this roster where like he has the confidence to play almost anybody on it. And I don't think anybody's got the kind of depth that the Pistons have to put these people in that actually have effects on the game. So yeah, to me, I would say they're definitely closer to the top half than they are the bottom half of the NBA. And in the Eastern Division, I really think they can win the East. I really do at this point. I mean, we're this far into the season. I mean, obviously, Cade's dealing with a little bit of an injury issue right now, and we talked about that. If he faces any injury, that's going to be a major problem for them, obviously, if he has to miss any significant time. But as long as you keep him healthy, Jalen Duren healthy, who's finally getting some recognition with the Slam magazine and all that kind of stuff, they're key players. I find it hard to believe how much depth they have that they're not more towards the top than the bottom.
Yeah, I agree. They continue to kind of struggle with injuries, right? Like last week, I think, in their loss to the Clippers, Duren was out, Cade was out, Tobias is still out. So I don't think you can kind of live and die with that for long stretches of time, right? Those guys have to be healthy, but when they are, they're clicking on all cylinders, obviously. But they have the most bench points in the league. They just have so much depth, like you said, Andy, and where you can kind of plug in guys when people are missing. But I don't think you can rely on that for too long, especially going down in the last 2-3 months of the year. I think they've been given some national love, to be honest with you, on TV. So I think they are one of the really good feel-good stories so far. But if you look at the East, I just don't think there's a lot of very good teams this year, right? Milwaukee's really struggling right now. The Knicks have fallen back a little bit. So, yeah, I mean, OKC can't beat San Antonio, but that's the only team really that they can't beat. But no, I see the Pistons, like I said, they continue to kind of stay healthy and make sure you're winning the games you're supposed to win, then they'll be fine.
Yeah, no, the depth aspect, I think, is what relates the most to OKC because, I mean, I was watching the game last night between the Thunder and the Spurs, and, the Thunder kept putting in guys, and I'm like, hey, who is this? Who is this, creative player I've never seen before? Kind of the same deal with the Pistons. Now, obviously, watching the Pistons a lot more this season, I've kind of developed, I know exactly who Dennis Jenkins is. But again, just kind of thinking about guys like that who you did not think would be having the impact that they have been. And again, just really great to see. Obviously, All-Star starters are going to be named this coming Monday. Right now, only one Piston has been named in the top 20 of fan voting. Obviously, that's not the total voting, but I mean, do we think Cade possibly gets a starting spot? I think we all can agree he's going to be an All-Star, but is he maybe worthy of that starting spot?
I think he is, especially with his numbers he's been putting up this year. He's led them in obviously points and assists, and I don't know how many triple doubles he's had, but like he's been doing everything for this team this year, and they kind of feed off of Cade. And I'll tell you what, I would throw Jalen Duren. I think he's having a great season, and I would definitely give him some consideration for making that All-Star team just because of the way that he's been playing.
Cade should be a starter, and if he's not, it's exactly why All-Star games are kind of a joke sometimes. Because, I mean, your team is at the top of the division, and he's clearly the main reason that they're there, despite everything else that's went into it. I mean, if you take him off the team, obviously it's a completely different situation. I have no idea how he couldn't be a starter, so yeah, I would say he should be.
Yeah, definitely. All right, well, again, those will be announced on Monday right here on News 8, so we'll be very excited to see Cade hopefully being named a starter there. Again, those will just be the starters. The rest of the All-Stars will be named at a later date. Let's move from the NBA now to college hoops and talk a little bit about the Michigan Wolverines and Michigan State Spartans, who are off to incredible starts to the season, although the Wolverines did lose their first game of the season recently against the Wisconsin Badgers. That's where we start this conversation. Obviously, Michigan has been one of the top teams in the entire country. They're ranked number 4th right now, whether you think they maybe should be ranked a little bit higher just based off their resume right now. But again, they did lose that first game. Let's talk about what that means. I mean, is it obviously we're sad to see the streak kind of end, but I mean, got to think it might help with the pressure a little bit that these guys maybe are facing, trying to stay undefeated while also just taking care of business game in and game out.
Yeah, no, I think it's one of those things where you just said it, the pressure was kind of building up a little bit, I feel like, because you start to hear every voice from the outside telling you you're the best in the world, and then you go out to Penn State and have that close game, and then Wisconsin comes in. I mean, everybody's going to give you their best shot once they start to hear that. This team beats everybody by 30, and that's getting put out there all the time. Eventually, you knew that was going to change a little bit. I mean, it's not like Michigan was going to win every game by 30 for the rest of the season. Otherwise, they'd probably be the best team in the history of college basketball. So, I mean, I expected them to have a little bit of adversity and have to face some of that stuff. I think if you watch that game against Wisconsin on Saturday, I mean, Michigan didn't play that bad. I mean, they didn't have their best game for sure on offense, I guess, but they were still in it the whole time. Wisconsin just kept hanging around and throwing punches back. So and Wisconsin just won last night on a buzzer beater too. So there's a lot of teams in the Big Ten that are good. They're going to push you to your limits. The Penn State one was definitely concerning at first. They play Washington. We're recording this on Wednesday, so they play Washington tonight. And it's one of those, excellent 10:30 tips that we talk about in the West Coast that I'm sure that those college kids love doing so much. But yeah, it's like this is one of those ones you'd like to see them, like, after a loss like that, go out there and have one of those 20-point wins to kind of reassure they are one of the top 5, top 3, whatever you want to consider them, teams in the country. But right now, if they keep struggling like that, maybe there is a little bit, more concern than we thought, I guess, because Michigan relies on their fast break game completely. Like they rely on the transition game and just kind of pushing the ball even when they give buckets to get back down the floor fast. Wisconsin was able to slow them down a little bit in that, and Michigan struggled. So we'll see if that becomes an issue for them in the future. But they're definitely still right now a top 5 team in my eyes. I don't know how you couldn't see it like that.
Yeah. I'm putting the Michigan loss a little bit on my daughters and their mom and their grandpa because they went to the game.
Okay. Bad luck
brutal.
charms.
And I didn't go. I didn't get a ticket, obviously. So I didn't go. So I told my oldest, I was like, "You're never going to a Michigan game again because you're like just a jinx." So that's that. But also, Wisconsin just shot the lights out.
They did, yeah.
Made their first 7 3-pointers, I think, of the second half. Their big man had like 8, and I think that's one thing that Michigan learned from that game, right? The bigs didn't come out, and if you have a good big on another team that can knock down the 3, they were just giving them way too much space. So I think Michigan kind of learned a little bit of that, where they have to extend their defense a little bit to kind of take away that 3-point shot. But Wisconsin couldn't miss there for a while. I think they shot 70-some% in the second half.
Yeah.
You're going to come across those games, and that's going to happen. So I think it's just a little blip. Michigan's going to be fine. Like you said, I think they go out tonight and beat Washington by double digits, and they'll be just fine. But I think you kind of need some of that adversity, a couple games like that, to kind of understand, hey, we're not going to go out and beat teams like this every single night.
Right.
Like, we have to pay attention to the little, do the little things correctly, and just kind of get better each game.
Well, I mean, we've kind of seen this from Michigan already. I mean, at the start of the season, I asked you guys the question, after watching the Wake Forest and Oakland games, how did you guys kind of view what was going on between the Michigan Wolverines? They kind of weren't beating teams, but then they weren't blowing out teams. And then as soon as we kind of talked about that, they went on that crazy run of beating everybody by 30 and 40 points. But kind of focusing on Michigan State as well. I mean, they're also having a really great season. I mean, they have some really big wins, a couple of top 25 wins. Their only losses are to Duke, a top 5-10 team right now, and Nebraska, who is still undefeated on the year. I mean, we're probably going to talk about Nebraska at some point, but again, a team that is also doing really well. Feel like Michigan's maybe getting a little bit more respect than Michigan State, though. Don't know how you guys are really looking at that, or really, how you guys are viewing this potential matchup between these two teams when we do get that at the end of the month.
Yeah, I can't wait for that matchup. That's going to be really, really good because Sparty's playing really, really well right now. Obviously the Nebraska, they missed a free throw there at the end. Nebraska is a really good team. They're playing very well right now. But Michigan State seems to have bounced back from that loss. They beat Indiana the other night by double digits. So, State's a fun team to watch. A lot of athleticism. I love watching Cohen Carr
crazy,
just
man.
dunk.
Yeah.
We don't have time to talk about the Paul Davis thing, but I thought that was so crazy last week. Absolutely amazing.
That just goes to show how much sports is going on right now. We don't have time to talk about
We don't
that.
talk about Paul Davis and his drunken outbursts to the ref. I did hear what he said, and it was not appropriate whatsoever. Let me just tell you that much.
He was rightfully thrown out.
Rightfully. So, no, I think it's going to be a couple great matchups when Sparty and Michigan play each other because they're two of the top teams in the country.
Yeah, I just really quick on that. I love how Tom Izzo reacted.
Oh, yeah.
Like, former player or not, he's like, get out of here. That's great, honestly. Still coaching them, even when they're, 10 years, or how many years past?
20.
Yeah,
Almost
20
20.
years.
Yeah. 20.
But yeah, so that's pretty crazy. But yeah, Michigan State, I mean, they look great too, and I definitely think they've been slept on a little bit more. I think it's Michigan's margin of victory and the way that they performed in that tournament in Vegas early in the season that kind of put them ahead as far as they are right now. Like, that really opened some people's eyes to be like, wow, this team has a lot of NBA talent on it probably.
Right.
So they put them up in the rankings because that doesn't matter. It's all going to get settled when they play each other anyway. And I said that weeks ago when we talked about both these teams and which team we thought was going to be better. Last year, again, Michigan lost both these games to Michigan State, and neither one of them really close. And Michigan still was a pretty good team in the NCAA tournament. Now, I definitely think this version of Michigan is better. This is more Dusty May's guys. I think that they're a way better team than they were a year ago, especially during the regular season.
Right.
Yeah.
But I still got to see it from Michigan like that. Why? Because Tom Izzo is going to get, like, whatever he said to him at the 10-minute timeout yesterday in that Indiana game. Indiana, so they played yesterday, right? Yeah. It was all of a sudden you look up the TV and they're up by 20 points. He just has that way of getting that drive out of his players and getting more, and he has no problem getting it out of them when they play against Michigan because a lot of them are his guys. I'm interested to see if Dusty can, take that step this year in that rivalry and really putting the importance of what goes into that game to play against Michigan State. Because when John Beilein used to have a lot of success against them, that was because he made that game huge. Like, he wanted that game to be one of the biggest rivalries and best one. He always would say it's one of the best ones in the country when it's going well. I can agree with that, and this has all the potential to be that kind of a game this year. We'll just see if Michigan's able to match what Michigan State brings every year.
Right. All right. Well, it is worth noting that the first matchup between the Wolverines and the Spartans won't happen until January 30th, and then they play their final game. It actually coincides with the final regular season game of the season as well. So I think it's appropriate that we end the regular season.
Is that at Sparty or is that at Michigan?
I do not know that off the top of my head.
I'm not sure
the whole logo.
Yeah, the whole logo debacle. Senior day.
Yeah, on senior day.
Yeah. All right, so let's switch gears now and back over to football. Obviously, when the Lions season is over, we're going to be talking about, obviously, some offseason moves, draft potential as we go through the rest of the offseason. But the big news now is the fact that the Lions did announce that they had fired John Morton, their offensive coordinator, meaning that there is now an opening, and it could not have come at really a more opportune time for the Lions, considering all of the head coaches that have now lost their jobs and are now looking for a next stopping place. We think about Mike McDaniel, Brian Dable, Cliff Kingsbury with the Commanders, who helped Jaden Daniels 2 years ago. He's now looking for a next opportunity. There is an opening now for offensive coordinator. Is there one guy at the top of your guys' list that you would love to see, even if it's just an interview, let alone maybe even hiring them fully?
I would say it's Mike McDaniel without a question. I mean, that's got to be the guy. Like, any of these guys you're listing, that I guess the point for me is that's what I want the Lions to do. I want them to go outside of their realm for once and maybe look in the mirror a little bit. Because so far they've kind of done that, but also backtracked in some of their statements. Still trying to back, like, with Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell, and they've kind of been reviewing the season. And like, they both said it wasn't good enough, but I think they still think that maybe what they have internally is good enough. It's not. Like, they need to go outside of it. And I think obviously interviewing Mike McDaniel is a step in the right direction. I really, really like that they did that. And obviously he's got some head coaching positions that he might be able to get. But if he doesn't get that, I mean, this guy, when he was in Miami, had even though the Lions' offensive line wasn't that great last year, probably it was still better than most of the offensive lines that Tua and the Dolphins have had any of that time. The offense that he was able to have there, for the most part, with Tua at quarterback, I mean, give him the Lions offense, and I think it makes a huge difference and is the kind of move that could send you to the Super Bowl. Like, seriously, that's what happens. You get some of these guys that are great football minds that just maybe weren't having success in a place as a head coach that fall to the coordinator level for a little bit. This screams like Mike McDaniel will give all the effort in the world because he want to get back to being a head coach.
Right.
I think he is the perfect hire if you can get it done. But some of those guys you mentioned, Brian Daboll is the one that I like probably the most next. He'd be someone up there with me, and looking to Cliff Kingsbury would be good as well. But I think Mike McDaniels knows everything you need to know about offense, and he's proven it in this league. I think he'd be a great hire for this team. But
yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think sometimes you can be a better offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator than a head coach. Right? Because there's just so much pressure on being the head coach, and you can kind of be like single it out and be like, all right, I'm just working on the offense here, so I don't have to control the whole team. So I do think that would be a good hire. I think some people talk about how Miami, they only average 20 points a game, whatever, but like, they don't have the skills, the skill players that the Lions have, right?
They have Tyreek all year.
Right, exactly. So, no, I think that would be a great fit for the Lions. Like you said, just some new blood outside. A little surprised that Kelvin Shepard got an interview with Miami, I think, right, for their head coaching job, or he's going to have one, I heard.
I did not hear that. That is,
a little surprised by that,
Very
to be completely honest with you, but...
Well, then maybe the Lions bring Mike Tomlin in to coach the defense.
Oh, my God.
He said he's stepping away from football for a while.
Right. So. I'm not a big fan of Daboll either. Like, listen, he didn't have success in New York, and I don't know.
He took him to the playoffs.
And I do think they started to have success with Jackson Dart, and they fired him at the complete wrong time.
Yeah,
but
I think you fire him last year.
But look what he did with Daniel Jones. Daniel
Yeah,
Jones didn't
no,
do
for
anything
sure.
in
That's-
New York.
yeah, no,
and
right.
then
Fair point.
he goes to the Colts.
But again, if this guy could focus on just offense, I think that he could be better.
I
than
think
if he
Brian-
was-
but
than if
I-
he had to be a head coach.
Yeah, I think Brian Dable's headed back to Buffalo, honestly. I think
Yeah.
he wants to get back with Josh Allen a little bit, kind of have a little bit more consistency at quarterback there. But I like
sure.
the Mike McDaniel move for sure. I think that would be, great, vibes only. I mean, his press conferences are worth enough to, at least bring him in for a chance,
Yeah, for sure.
Isn't there like 9 openings right now?
Yes.
Yeah,
Nine
it's
It's so
Crazy.
crazy,
openings.
right? How many?
Yep, nobody has patience anymore. It's just the world we live
You got to
in.
win right now. Kurt Signetti has ruined everything.
Yeah, right, exactly.
I saw
Oh my
something
gosh.
today that said Signetti would be great in Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
Because he's a Pennsylvania-born
Yeah,
guy
right.
and this and that. I'm like, Signetti's not leaving Indiana.
No,
Yeah, no.
And we'll talk about Indiana in just a little bit, but let's spend some time talking about the NFL playoffs. Real quick, guys, I'm just going to name the matchups. We're just going to go through the divisional rounds and pick who
let's go. This is
who
fun.
we think we're going to win. So let's do a team that you think is going to win and maybe a final score. So let's
Are
start.
we going to agree on these?
I don't know.
It's
We're gonna
always
find
fun if
out.
we don't. It's
Yeah,
not
I like
if we
it.
don't. Okay.
All right, let's start with Houston and New England. The Texans traveling to New England.
Give me Houston
first.
all day.
Houston,
I'll take,
okay.
I'll take Houston's defense against what I saw the other night from Drake May in that offense. I still don't think they've played anybody good enough. If it doesn't matter, I mean, shoot, CJ Stroud just has to get one touchdown and their defense will score probably at least once in the game because they've just seemed to do that. I like that defense. I've liked it for weeks now. I think they get the job done.
Yeah.
Okay, give me Drake May in New England.
Okay.
I just think they've just been playing so well, right? And I think it's going to be a very low-scoring game, so I'm going to look at like a 17-14 game. I think it's going to be a close
Definitely.
game, but it's going to be take the under, by the way.
Yeah, let's go to the other AFC matchup. Buffalo traveling all the way to Denver to take on the top-seeded Broncos.
Give me Josh Allen in Buffalo.
Okay.
That's my Super Bowl pick.
Really?
So-
Okay. Well, we'll teaser to
sorry.
our future episodes.
Sorry,
yeah,
future.
yeah.
Disagreeing again. I'm taking Denver.
Really? Okay.
I haven't seen enough. Josh Allen is a phenomenal talent. I haven't seen enough out of everybody else around him to believe that they're going to win this game. I just think Denver's home field advantage is way too much, and I think that they get the job done. I think Denver is going to go to the Super Bowl for me.
Too much of a break.
So,
Nope.
so even still no Kansas City in the playoffs, and Josh Allen still can get
No,
out.
that's what I'm
That's-
saying.
It
clear.
has to be.
There's no
this
Jackson,
year.
there's no Mahomes,
But
there's no
Jacksonville
Burrow.
just took him to the ropes. I mean, I'm not
Yeah.
saying Jacksonville is a legit team. I
Jacksonville's
think
good.
Jacksonville is good, but so was Denver when they're playing
Right.
at home. So I don't see it working. I see more heartbreak for Josh Allen in the future.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, to the NFC now. The Bears had a huge comeback win against the Packers, and now they are playing host to the LA Rams, a team with presumably the MVP of the season in Matthew Stafford.
Ben Johnson, the MVP.
Yeah.
Of the,
Stop.
of
Who
the-
knows?
Stop.
I mean, does
I do not like
Chicago
Ben Johnson
does,
so much now, but go ahead.
does
No.
Ben Johnson help the Bears get to the NFC Championship, or does Matthew Stafford, the former Lion, exact revenge on the Bears?
Andy, it's you.
I'm going with the Rams. I think at the end of the day, they're going to be too much offensively in this game. They'll get the job done. I think that their defense for the Bears is just so bad. I don't believe in it at all. I think that if Devontae is out, that might be a problem too. He's been fighting some injuries and stuff. But I just overall think that this is where the Bears' luck kind of runs out. Because what happened against Green Bay, there had to be a little bit of luck involved in that.
Right.
I can tell you that much. So,
Yep.
I'm definitely going Rams here.
That's what I was going to say. Yep. Bears'
Rams.
luck runs out, and Stafford goes in Chicago.
And I will
wins.
put on record right now. This is a one-hit wonder for the Bears. I guarantee they're not this good again next year. I'm calling it right
Too
now.
many close games. They're going to
Exactly,
regress.
and an
They're
easy
gonna
schedule.
regress.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm sure all the Bears fans here are clipping that right now,
I'm excited
waiting for
for
next year. All right, well then, I guess also worth mentioning that all three NFC West teams that made the playoffs are in the divisional round because the San Francisco 49ers are now traveling to Seattle to take on the top-seeded Seahawks. Who do you guys have winning that and potentially meeting the Rams in the NFC Championship?
Dean?
Seahawks.
Seahawks, okay.
Seahawks. Sam Darnold. We're going to go 28-21.
This is the toughest one for me to pick of the entire weekend, I think, but I'm going to have to go with Seattle. Sam Darnold's finally going to get that win. I think that it's going to be very close. I did pick the 49ers to win last weekend. I think they have a great chance to win this game too, but I just think Seattle ultimately too much. They've had a week off, but we'll see. I think the George Kittle injury is going to hurt him a little bit.
Yeah, no, we'll revisit this again next week to see how you guys kind of stacked up with your picks. Again, games happening on Saturday and Sunday. And then on Monday, while we still have just a few seconds left in today's episode, guys, real quick, Monday night, national championship game. Indiana Hoosiers taking on the Miami Hurricanes. Who would have thought that these were going to be the two teams in the national championship?
Yeah.
It's going to be crazy to think that one of these teams is hosting the trophy when it's all said and done on Monday night. Who is winning it? And again, I mean, do you think it's going to be a close game, a blowout? I mean, we've seen Indiana really put teams away so far this year and in the playoffs.
I want to say for some reason that it will be close, but it won't be. Indiana is prime Bama right now for at least 1 year. They're going to beat them. I'll go 35-13 Indiana.
Wow.
Pulls away at the end.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm going Indiana as well. I'm going to go 28-10.
Wow. All right. Well, again, hopefully the games are good. Maybe hopefully a little bit closer than those scores. But again, a whole weekend of great sports action is ahead of us. We're so excited about it. We'll be sure to break everything down for everybody on next week's episode of the Sports Frenzy podcast. I'm Phil Pinarski for Dean Holzwarth and Andy McDonald. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and we'll see you again next week.